Having listened to Abubakar Malami's defense of his directive of the payment of $418 million to the consultants, we're now being joined by Abdulrazaque Bello-Barkindo, Head of Media and Public Affairs at the Nigerian Governors Forum. Bello-Barkindo will be giving us his thoughts on the clarification provided by the Attorney General and why the 36 state governors are vehemently opposed to such a move. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bello-Barkindo. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Well, Abdulrazaque Bello-Barkindo, thank you for joining us too. I guess you listened to the Attorney General of the Federation on this issue of the Paris Club refund and the role played by consultants. And he says that the governors, are approbating and reprobating, that they could not have agreed to a consent judgment in 2013 and also admitted, as they did, according to him, in 2013 liability, only to turn around a few years later to say, well, no, we didn't admit any liability. And all he had done was just to protect the interest of the federal government, not to allow the federal government to be responsible for a liability that belongs to third parties. What is your reaction?
My reaction to this is that he is the Attorney General of the Federation, and when a matter is sub judice, he should allow the matter to be concluded first before rushing to pay whatever liabilities there are. His explanations seem to fall flat because the Attorney General of the Federation seems to be comparing apples and oranges. One of the cases that he simply ignored was never on the table at all. And for the Nigeria Governors Forum, we're saying all of these payments, even the payments that were done before, had some questionable issues with them. And we're really going to, revert to them and still ensure that those payments are also probably rescinded or some refunds made. So I don't understand how the person who is supposed to be the defender of the masses of Nigeria would all of a sudden side with the bourgeoisie and insist that money should be given to them without proper verification.
Well, what about the argument that your protest is rather like shutting the barn door after the horse has bolted? Why were these issues not raised before, and why do we have consultants in the first case?
Where on earth has it been said that if you have been cheated or you seem to think you are going to be cheated, there is a time limit for protesting that cheating? I don't believe that, he's making a good case when he says, oh, at first the governors didn't protest or the governors didn't come to, come to his office and say, well, this payment was, not necessary. Remember that the case started sometime in 2003. This is something that has been on and has been going on, and there has been a rotation of governors. Several governors have come and gone. Several chairmen of the Governors Forum have come and gone, and each would have his own, inner circle team and who advises him on legal matters and things like that. So if another group of governors come and say, well, this thing is not properly handled, they need to listen to each other. And in the Governors Forum, there are SANs, there are serious, top-notch lawyers, and they have been putting heads together and coming up with decisions to solve this matter. For all we care, we are saying that this matter is currently in court. Why the payment through promissory notes? We are not saying there are no liabilities. If we are saying there are no liabilities, the court would prove them. If the courts prove that there are no liabilities, we would obviously not respond to those payments. But we are saying, let us get to the conclusion of this matter, and everything would be resolved amicably.
Right, so while this is in court, let's even hear the justifications, for the hitherto said liability here. Why is there a need to pay the consultants? What was the job done? What was the initial agreement made in the first place?
Thank you very much. That probably puts me in an easier place. Yes, what is the job done? We have been asking that. We have been asking the consultants to come and verify. We need a forensic audit of the job done. There has not been one. And we're saying if there is no forensic audit, we're not going to pay anything. But these people are saying, well, we have the Attorney General on our side. Whether you agree that there's a job done or there's no job done, we're going to get our money. So what can we do? He is the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. We are not. So we are waiting to see how he's going to pay the money. Because once that money has been paid, the states would be in a difficult place. Already the October FAQ has not been received because the states are protesting that they're not going to take that money, which would be short of certain amounts that would obliterate, payment of salaries and things like that. So how he goes around, solving this problem is a matter that I do not fathom. The point is, this thing is in court, and the chief legal officer of Nigeria is going to the court of public opinion. What does it tell you about that kind of character? I mean, we are supposed to be, we're supposed to listen to whatever comes out of court, not whatever comes out of the media. But he first ran to the media. That means he has probably exhausted, the powers that have been, ascribed to him as the HAGF, and now is returning to the public to help him, adjudicate this matter. And that's curious.
Okay, I understand the point you are trying to make, but you raised a point earlier that I would like you to clarify. You said that since 2003, you mentioned 2003, that governors have come, they've gone, and a new governor can decide to change whatever has been agreed upon. How about the concept of continuity in governance? Are states not bound by, agreements entered into by a preceding governor? I would like you to clarify that point. And the second point is, okay, what is the best practice in this kind of situation? The Paris Club of Creditors assist countries who are having issues with their finances, with debt payment and all that. Do you have consultants at the point of negotiation? If you don't have, so why will you have consultants at the reform stage? Is this standard practice? What is the best practice in other jurisdictions?
This thing has a history. That's why I mentioned the year 2003. The history is such that it's a bit befuddled. When these reforms were about to be made, I understand there was one of the consultants who even threatened to sell off, the Nigerian house in London. And that ensured that the president gave an express order that that consultant be settled immediately so that he does not embarrass the federal government. This thing went very smoothly and he was paid over $100 million. Now, of course, everybody knows what that is. And over time, the NGF allowed every consultant who had a business to do with either Algon or any of these parties in the Paris-London Club refund to present their matter or their cases and get paid, which was done over, I think, close to 2 years. Between 2016 and 2018, we had handled roughly, over 60, 70 consultants who were paid. Now, curiously, all of a sudden, some more consultants and some of the older ones began to resurface with all sorts of demands. And these demands were not plausible at all. And of course, the new sets of governors said, well, we have to look into these. Now, I'll give you one very clear example, and that's that of Panic Alert. Panic Alert said he reviewed a judgment, a 20-page judgment of the 2013-14 16-19 controversy in the Governors Forum. And he reviewed that judgment for the man who lost the election. That is the then governor of Plateau State. And all of a sudden, he demanded for $7 million as payment for a review of a 20-page document. If it were your money, Ruben, would you give it? Would you give $7 million for a review of a 20-page document? I mean, these are the kind of frivolous, demands that kept coming. And the Governors Forum said, no, we're going to look into this very, very strictly and assist and, see that they are really genuine before they are paid. So these are the kind of demands that we're talking about. And for the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation to simply think that these people just deserve their money, whether they are verified or not, is to me something that I cannot, explain.
Well, it has been reported that $17 million was paid for lawyers to write a letter. So really anything is possible when we're in the realm of the absurd. But another issue I'd like you to address is the claims that the DSS was sent to verify the services rendered by these consultants and that they verified those services. Can you address that issue?
Well, the DSS was sent to verify by the Office of the Attorney General, and a court of law in this country threw out the DSS assessment that the DSS do not have experts good enough to assess any contracts executed. So the DSS report was flung out. So I don't see how this matter would begin to rear its head back into this matter, because, I mean, it will only be somebody who wants to, take the back door to execute or prosecute that payment that would use that. The DSS is currently, the court has said the DSS is not qualified to assess any business or any contract done, and that's where we are.
So for me, another question would be even the independence of the verification. I mean, what should be the modus operandi for the independence of that verification, maybe forensic audits and the likes?
Yes, that's what the Governors Forum is asking for, a forensic audit of the entire process, of the consultancies done, so that these consultants would be paid if they deserve payment and would not be paid if they don't. The point is, someone is saying, even before the conclusion of the forensic audit, we are going to give them money. Now, if you give them money, how are you going to get it back? So states are saying, no, we're not going to accede to giving them money ahead of the forensic audit. We're only waiting for this forensic audit, and the NGF is saying it does not matter at all.
Who is doing the forensic audit? Who is doing it?
Well, experts would be consulted, would be paid to do it.
Okay, Bello-Barkindo, the AGF was very firm and clear when he said all of these objections being raised by the Nigerian Governors Forum would seem to be belated. Do you think beyond the litigation in court, there's another way, another option for resolving all of this?
I would have thought that if they were belated, the courts would throw them out and say this is too late to come. But if the courts would accept to sit on them, I think the AGF should wait for the courts. He is the chief legal officer of this country. I'm not going to engage him in legalese. But the most important thing, as far as I know as a layman, is that we wait for the courts to adjudicate on matters before actions are taken. There's no more, no other way out.
Well, just not to put too fine a point on it, what exactly is the issue with the AGF's, in your opinion, unseemly haste to make these payments? What are you accusing him of exactly?
I am saying that the AGF has abandoned the people for whom he is the Attorney General of the Federation and is now friends with a group of consultants who are trying to grab money off the legal earnings of the Nigerian people. And this is going to affect not just the poor masses, it's going to affect you, it's going to affect me, it's going to affect everybody who has a little change in his pockets to throw around. Because at the end of the day, these people who are not going to be able to be paid are going to come to you to ask for a certain leverage. And that's what we're trying to prevent here. We're saying this money belongs to the poor Nigerian masses and let it go to them. If there is any reason why it should go to someone else, so be it. But let the facts of the matter be ascertained first.
So who are these consultants? Because we keep talking as if they're maxed or something. Who are these consultants? And what informed the use of these consultants in the first place? What informed this state government employing these consultants to run around this deal in the first place? Who are these consultants?
Well, there are about there are 4 permanent consultants that we're talking about here, and there are some other appendages that come in as consultants. They are all on the press release that I issued. And the thing that they did, actually, is that when the Paris-London issue came up, a lot of consultants, lawyers, accountants came to the Algon and other offices and said they could bring back that money because that money had been hanging since, way before 2003. And of course, a lot of states and local governments would say, if you're able to bring out this money, we're going to give you a certain portion of it, which is normal. And over time, a lot of consultants came, appended their signatures to these deals and never succeeded in doing anything. But of course, their files were pending. Now, at the end of the day, when the money was paid out in 2016, everybody began to come up with his demand for what the governor of the time or the Algon of the time promised he was going to pay them for the actions or for the things that they did. Now, in the process, the Nigeria Governors Forum decided that it was going to put out a complete list of everybody who had participated in seeking to get this money out. Now, everybody was listed and everybody got his portion of that money. So it's a lot of lawyers around the country. It's not just lawyers from one section of the country or another section. It's lawyers all over the country, and it's governors all over the country as well. So they decided that there was going to be a threshold. Anybody who had participated in looking for this money would be paid an X amount. And this was, handled between 2016 and 2018, which he is talking about. After that, no other consultant would come out with any other fictitious, demands for money. But of course, this is Nigeria. A lot of people began to come out with their demands and their excuses. So, and they thought they had been left out. Now, the Algon all of a sudden threw out and said nobody had built any health centers around the country, which Ryok, one of the consultants, is claiming. And they said, please, go around the country and show us these health centers. We want to see them. And we're going to engage, experts who would go around the country and tell us that these are the number of hospitals or health centers that you have built. Now, everybody seems to be agreed with that, except, of course, the AGF and the consultants. They are the ones who don't want anybody to go looking for what job they have done. I've never heard that kind of thing in my life. So these consultants are all over. But the 4 consultants that are talking about this money have refused to allow anybody to seek what they had done to, demand or deserve this payment from the government.
Well, I just heard you now that, it's normal to have consultants, which is a question that I raised earlier on. But there are those who hold the view. I read a piece, I think this was by Nosike Ogbonyi, one of our colleagues, and he was saying that, look, the main argument of the Nigerian Governors Forum, having initially agreed, is to now turn around and claim that the money that the 4 consultants are asking for is too much. And that, that looks like an attempt to blackmail persons who offer services and also to put the federal government of Nigeria in a difficult situation. Since, funds and assets belonging to the federal government were reportedly attached by some of the aggrieved consultants. So can the governors occupy a moral high ground in this regard? Because there are 2 sides to this story, even beyond whatever the Attorney General of the Federation may have said.
I would say, Robert, that whoever wants to side with the Attorney General would do that for some kind of, pecuniary or whatever convenience. But what I know is that nobody has said the amount is too much. The amounts we paid earlier, some consultant had received $100 million. Some consultants had received $60 million. So what is $418 million outside of what we had already paid? Nobody is saying that the money is too much. What we are saying is that there is no justification for this payment. And if there is a justification for the payment, let there be a forensic audit, which will now prove that, yes, work had been done and it deserves to be paid. Why is there a hurry to issue out promissory notes on work that has not been verified? In the press release that the spokesman to the Attorney General issued out, there was a place where he said monies were paid after the jobs were verified. Why is this one not, good for verification? That's what I'm asking.
So your perspective is coming from services rendered and sort of being reasonable in the funds or fee demanded for such services. However, there's another argument I'd like you to address, that you should just look strictly at contractual obligations. State governors agreed entered into a covenant with these consultants to give them 20%, according to some contracts, of whatever it is that they were able to recover. And now that sum is $418 million they are owed and should be paid regardless of any other factor. What's your comment on that?
20% could be a figure from just one of the states or a figure from one of the Algon participants. There were different figures, there are different promises that were made to these consultants once they are able to bring out that money between 2003, 2005 until 2016 and 17. So it's not a static figure. That's one. The second thing is that no state had acceded to that, to these $418 million payment. These people who are demanding this money had tried to blackmail even the chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum, claiming that he had asked them for a certain percentage before he would be paid. When that didn't fly, they turned to another thing. I don't know how they were able to enmesh, the Attorney General of the Federation into this, but this matter had been on and going left and right until we got here. That the matter is no longer in the, premises of the courts, and is now in the court of public opinion. I would have thought that whoever wanted a true adjudication of this matter should wait until a forensic audit of the matter is taken and every job is verified, and then payments would be made. There should not be any hurry in paying this thing. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I'd like to ask you this. Did the consultants deliver on the job? Did any of the efforts put in by the consultants lead to monies being recouped? And did you see the money trail? Was there XYZ job done that led to the recovery of XYZ amount of money in the Paris Club debt? Can you match the figures, to the efforts?
I'll just put it back to you this way. If you are able to tell me how $7 million would be paid to somebody who reviews 20 pages of a judgment, then probably we would begin to see that some work has been done and needs to be paid. But for anybody to tell me that, he reviewed a 20-page document and he deserves $7 million, I mean, this is what we call the Abuja money, isn't it? Somebody comes to Abuja and works in Abuja for 3 days, and before he leaves, he's, $1 million richer. And the governors are saying, no, this is not going to happen. We need to wait.
So I
have not seen any job done.
I just want to get something clear.
Is saying,
I just want to get something clear real quickly. So what led to the release of those Paris Club money in the end?
I think the President Muhammad Buhari was very gratuitous, excuse me, in allowing the release of that money, because that money has been sought since the days of President Obasanjo, President Jonathan, and so on. Nobody had been able to get anybody to consent to the release until General Muhammad Buhari became president. And he decided that this money should go to states because they were deducted from states and local governments when they were not supposed to have paid those amounts. So he allowed states to get that money. And those who engaged with Algon at the time now began to crop up with their demands for, refunds of what they thought they had done at the time. And this is how, the money came into existence, actually.
So it was the president that made that big role, not these consultants. I was just trying to get that out. Okay.
No, it was the president. Yes, it was the president, yes.
The House of Reps Minority Caucus also got involved in this matter on the side of the governors. And the resolution of the Minority Caucus in the House of Reps was an appeal to President Muhammadu Buhari to halt the payment. The payment of these promissory notes through the Debt Management Office is supposed to take up to 10 years. And you say you are surprised that the president gave his approval. Despite the fact that, there is a case in court, Femi Falana, SAN, counsel to the Nigerian Governors Forum, is already in court. Do you think there's a possibility that the president of Nigeria can possibly change his mind and look for another option in this matter? Because basically what the NGF is saying, NGF is asking for forensic audit, Governors Forum is saying the payment is the claims are opaque and the payment is dubious and all of that. Is there something that the president of Nigeria can still do since the buck stops at his desk?
I would think, Ruben, that the best option is to allow, the matter to be settled by the courts. There are so many cases regarding this matter, and they are going from left, right, and center. So if anybody is interested in the final, because we are dealing with very senior lawyers, remember? These are all SANs, and they know their way along around the legal system. So if they are not confident that this matter would end in the courts, then there must be something wrong. I mean, we're not talking about, daycare lawyers and things like that. We're talking about SANs. Why are they afraid of waiting for the adjudication of this matter in court, which is their own forte? Why are they coming back to the court of public opinion? I don't think the president needs to interfere with this because it's already a done, deal. They have already said they walked. They are supposed to be paid. And the owner of the work is saying, no, I'm not satisfied with what you did. Let us do a forensic audit. What is so difficult about that? This is not nuclear science. This is just going to court and coming out.
Right. Is this not the case that the governors who did the original deal are now out of office? And how is this different from theft and being accessories to corruption after the fact?
No, I don't think this is where Ruben's question comes to play. The issue of continuity. Yes, governors have always, aligned with the decisions that have been taken earlier, and they are still with them. It's not about continuity, it's about verification. If a set of governors said, well, we have verified that this has been done, and the others come and say, yes, you have verified that this has been done, but there is a loophole somewhere, well, they will address it. And I believe they all work in the interest of the nation. I also want to believe that the Attorney General of the Federation should be working in the interest of the nation. But this exact, matter seems to, point out a dereliction. The Nigerian people strongly believe that the Attorney General will side with them. But if the Attorney General is siding with the 4 consultants just because of for whatever reason, I wouldn't, join issues with him.
Well, Bello-Barkindo, thank you very much. Well, we note your faith in the courts, but we hope that the case will not go on until this current set of governors also leave office and another set shows up in the future and the matter takes another direction. But thank you very much. We'll keep an eye on further developments in the matter.